Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. In this video I want to share my experience with the CDJ 700. I've had them for a few years. I just want to be talking about what made me buy them, how they've held up so far, and would I recommend them to you. The reason that I've decided to make this video is when I was considering getting these players, there were many reviews about them, like they would list the specs and whatnot and how they would look right out of the box. However, there weren't many videos that would explain how, or that would share like a user's experience for, at least a few months or something like that. And because I thought that might better help me decide whether I should get these or not. And so hopefully this video addresses that and maybe gives you a better understanding if these units are for you or not. So like I've said, I've had these units for a few years back. Before I've had a Serato Pioneer controller. It was literally the smallest unit that they sold at the time. And later on, I've upgraded to one of the Pioneer 4-channel controllers, which had effects and loops and all sorts of things. But it's still, you need a laptop for it to run. And both of these units did the job did the job well, and they have all the I think they have all the features, if not more, than what a CDJ or like the XDJ has. The only issue that I had was at the time I was enjoying like this new hobby, and I wanted to record mixes more often, but whenever I would use these controllers, it just felt like they weren't, I don't know, they just didn't feel as tactile. Maybe they just didn't feel right for me. It always felt like I was using I hate to use this term, but it just felt like a toy all the time. Or there felt like there's a disconnect between me and like what was actually happening. Later on, I got into vinyl and turntables and whatnot, and so I had to buy like a mixer, and I went with the Zone 23. For me, that mixer it's like very small yet very sturdy and very durable. It's still running great till now. I've had it for multiple years, and I just realized when I had it, I was like, this is way more fun than how it feels to use those controllers. So at that point as well, I was starting to play a few gigs that already had CDJs, and those also felt great, even though I was still getting like accustomed to them. So I was like, well, maybe it's time to upgrade. Maybe I should consider getting the XDJs. At one point, on one hand, I would be getting better at using CDJs at the parties, since I didn't have like a friend who had them or anything. I didn't have any access to them. So I would get better at using the CDJs, and I would also have fun using them just like at home or like whenever I'm throwing a party or anything like that. At the time that I was considering this, there were two units. There was like the 1000 and the 700. The main difference was basically that the 1000 was slightly bigger, more full-fledged than the 700, and obviously slightly more expensive. I didn't consider getting like full-on CDJs because they were outside of my budget. And I'm assuming if you're considering the 700, a budget is something that is of a concern to you, because otherwise you could just get like the full-on CDJ 3000. I think they're really, with their huge screen, they're just a lot of fun to use. So the difference between the 700 and the 1000, other than the size and maybe the jog wheel torque can be adjusted on the 1000. I think the 1000 had a beat skip. I mean, that's a pretty neat feature. And I don't know why they took that out of the 700. I think it's just to make it that much more enticing to go with the 1000. But for me, I didn't think that feature was necessary. I also rather have like a unit that is smaller in size, and that's why I went on with the 700. It was also like, like I said before, they were a little bit cheaper. So now, after all that time, I can easily say it was like a pretty decent purchase, pretty good. Using them with the Zone is definitely more natural feeling to me than using a controller and a laptop. I've also used them in few gigs, and they've come in handy. DJs aren't like, they're not like ecstatic to be using them, but they're not totally against them. They're fine. They're pretty good to use actually. One of the reasons also that was kind of making me worry about buying them was at the time they've already been out for like 5 years or so, and I was like, oh, is Pioneer gonna like release one anytime now? However, it's been a few years since I've bought them, few more years since they've came out, and still Pioneer did not like announce anything that is within that range. I think their focus is either in all-in-one controller or the just all-in-one units, or the controller, or their like flagship CDJ. So just so far, I don't think that's coming in anytime soon. I've also looked at other alternatives like denonn. At that time also, denonn released their flagship player, which can connect to Wi-Fi. You can connect an SSD drive to it. You can have like one player, and it would be able to play 2 tracks on different channels. I was like, wow, this thing is pretty darn feature packed. It might be just a better bang for your buck. Luckily, I don't know why exactly I didn't get it, but soon after, I think one of my friends bought it, and I tried it at his place, and it was fun to use, but honestly, it was a bit clunky. I don't know why. It just felt like the user interface was really not as friendly as the Pioneer. There were a few confusing things that none of the reviews mentioned. Also, like how it would read record box files was a complete mess. Sometimes it would read them, sometimes it wouldn't, and that to me was a pretty important feature, because most of the parties I go to, or most of the events, they would have Pioneer, and that's what I honestly prefer using. Just to me, it feels like a better product. I wish there were more options, but that's just what it is. So yeah. So far, like I've said, they've held up pretty well. They're pretty sturdy. Let me show you the unit. It's pretty nice. The reason why I'm not doing like showing all the features and whatnot, because I feel there are so many videos that really just explore all the functionalities of it, and you might as well check those out if you're looking into knowing the specs. And this video, if you just want to know what the experience is of owning one. So yeah, they're actually, for their size and the cost, they do feel sturdy. Not as sturdy as the CDJs, but they're pretty good. They're really good. Would I recommend them? Depends on what you're looking for. If you're not planning on getting into vinyl, I think you might be slightly better off with getting the all-in-one units that Pioneer now has. They have like a variety of options of those. I've tried those, and I was honestly very impressed by the quality of those units. I think when I was like looking at them online, I was kind of skeptical about how they would hold up, but when I actually tried them, I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah, they have a few units of those. I think the XDJ RX3 seems to be the one that covers like all the features you would need to have at home and in a club setting, but it's pretty expensive as well. If you're looking to have a small CDJ setup at home, these would be pretty handy. So yeah, if you have any questions about them, if you have any comments, feel free to drop them here or message me directly on Instagram. I hope you enjoyed this video or got something out of it, and otherwise, catch you in the next one.